Hello, how are you doing? I'm fine. I'm opening my own cafe soon. And how are you? How is Elio and the kids? Oh, we're fine. Family life is flourishing. I'm going to visit my parents one of these days. If you want, come and have lunch with me. Oh, that's a great idea. But I don't have much time right now. Let's plan for the weekend, shall we? Sure. Let's keep in touch and decide when we can meet. Agreed. Ella, it's just a nightmare. Oh, Sophia, hi. What happened? So, one night during this year's discovery, I headed out of town for a weekend to visit my folks. Meanwhile, Rebecca came over to our home and had a little too much to drink. In her drunken state, she spilled some beans to Elio about my past behavior as a young adult. Apparently, I used to hit up the club scene and kiss other people, a fact I can't really deny. However, what Rebecca failed to mention is that it only happened a total of 3 times. And to be honest, it seems like her memory is a bit fuzzy on the details. All she really seems to remember is that I was unfaithful for almost an entire year, which isn't really accurate. In any case, it seems like she's conveniently forgetting that she did pretty much the same thing. Did you really cheat on him? Oh, yes. So let me take you back to the year 2001, which was a whopping 22 years ago. Back then, I was young and, quite frankly, pretty dumb. And unfortunately, I did something pretty awful. At the time, I was with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. By the way, and we have been together for about 6 years. We actually grew up in the same hometown and we were part of the same group of friends when we were kids. It's kind of a classic love story, really. We fell for each other in high school and have been together ever since. So, after I finished college, I kind of went through this phase where I felt like my relationships were holding me back from being my true self. My bestie, Rebecca, totally agreed with me, and we started hitting up clubs together, leaving our significant others at home. I mean, we weren't technically doing anything wrong, but it was kind of exhilarating to know that other guys were checking us out. Of course, that whole playing with fire thing proved to be all too true. The more time we spent together, the more Rebecca started getting the urge to cheat. And unfortunately, I'm ashamed to say, that I caved into the temptation too. There were a few nights where I danced with some guys and even ended up kissing them. It's not something I'm proud of, but I guess it's all part of the messy process of growing up. After a few too many of these incidents, I finally came to my senses and realized how gross it all was. I felt totally disgusted with myself, with Rebecca, with those random dudes I kissed. But most of all, I was filled with an overwhelming sense of guilt for betraying my one true love. I made the difficult decision to tell Rebecca that I couldn't hang out with her anymore if she was going to continue down this path of cheating. To her credit, she understood and put an end to it too. Of course, even though I was all about morality and doing the right thing, I just couldn't bring myself to confess to my husband what I had done. I mean, we ended up getting married and having 4 kids together, and I was terrified of losing him. So yeah, it's definitely not my proudest moment, but I guess we all make mistakes in life. I understand. What happened next when he found out about your betrayal from Rebecca? So, the next day I went home and my husband wasted no time in getting straight to the point. He asked me point blank if I had ever cheated on him. From the look in his eyes, I knew he already knew the answer. I was so scared by how calm he was about the whole thing. It was completely out of character for him. I mean, this is a guy who's usually super proud and charismatic, but in that moment he was a completely different person. He seemed totally detached from our relationship, and even from me. Then he dropped on me and said he wanted to do DNA tests for all our children. I mean, I was totally taken aback by that, but I agreed to do it because I knew they were his. Just to be clear, he's the only guy I've ever slept with, so there was never any doubt in my mind that they were his kids. It was a really tough and emotional time for us. I sympathize with your situation. It was so long ago. What difference does it make now? I understand that I'm very guilty before Elio, but I was so young and stupid. Hey, have the results arrived? Have you reconciled with Elio? I'm completely wrapped up in work and forgot to find out how you're doing. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. So yes, we did the DNA tests, and as I suspected, all of our kids were his. But unfortunately, that didn't change anything in the end. That very same day, my husband broke the news to me that he wanted a divorce. It was a total gut punch. And honestly, it was one of the hardest moments of my life. I was consumed with guilt and shame over what I had done. And to make matters worse, I couldn't stop thinking about Elio. The whole thing was really tough to deal with. Oh, Jesus! I'm so sorry. It must have been so difficult for you. Yes, it was. It's been a few weeks now since my husband and I split up. And it's been really tough on all of us. He went ahead and bought an apartment in the city center, and our older kids have been spending all their time there. As for our younger twins, we've been trying to share custody between us. I thought maybe counseling could help save our marriage, so I suggested it to my husband Elio. But unfortunately, he wasn't interested in giving it a try. It was a tough pill to swallow, and it really made me feel like I was on my own, like a divorced mom with 4 kids who all hate me. How did you deal with all this? I can't even begin to tell you how difficult this whole situation has been. I was consumed with guilt and shame over what I had done, and I just missed our family life so much. I tried to make things right, to apologize and fix everything, but Elio was understandably really angry and hurt. It was during this tough period that I really started to do some soul-searching. I knew I had to take responsibility for my actions and grow up. One of the things I did was cut Rebecca out of my life for good. But even the mere thought of referring to Elio as my ex makes me feel like disappearing. It's just such a hard pill to swallow. Oh, it's so awful. Yeah. The other day, one of my kids broke the news to me that Rebecca, the woman who tore our family apart, was shacking up at my husband's place. I can't even begin to describe the mix of emotions that flooded me, the hurt, the anger, and the jealousy. It's like my whole world came crashing down. I mean, we've invested so much time and effort into building a life together. We've had our ups and downs, but this feels like the ultimate betrayal. It's like he's just throwing our family away like it meant nothing. And to top it all off, he's sharing our family with her while I'm left out in the cold. Huh? How did it happen? I'm asking the same question. Well, I did something I never thought I would do. What have you done? I made a decision to take a risk and unblock Rebecca from my contacts and reached out to her. We made plans to meet up for coffee at my mom's house while it was empty. And then what happened? To put it differently, we talked for hours, but I didn't feel like the good times we used to have. I was feeling very tense in my stomach. It made me realize I still hold a grudge against her for what she did, and I'll never be able to forgive her like I did before. I had to accept this reality. So I decided to question her and get all the information out in the open. I even brought a bottle of champagne to lighten the mood and make the conversation more relaxed. What did you ask her? I wanted to know why Rebecca told my husband about my cheating. I asked her about it, and she said that it was a drunken mistake with no real purpose behind it. She didn't even remember it happening, but she remembered my son acting distant with her the next day. My husband later explained what she had said. That's so reckless of her. What about after the exposure? After I admitted to my husband that I cheated, he confronted Rebecca about what she said. She later texted him, claiming she was drunk and confused. But my husband already knew the truth. He connected her to my lies and wanted to be free from her. He confronted her a day or so after I did, as he couldn't handle the connection between her and my infidelity. But how is she able to contact him after he blocked her? He didn't go as far as blocking her, but he made it clear that he didn't want her to reach out to him anymore. She assured him that she would stay away from both him and their children. But after 3 months, she reached out to him again. She had gotten help for her recovery and wanted to apologize for all the hurt she caused. They had a conversation and started communicating again. I see. And what about her sleeping at his house? She explained that due to her struggles with alcoholism, it was hard for her to be alone during the winter, and she needed someone to keep her company. She clarified that she sleeps in the guest bedroom, and that she and Elio don't drink together or have any romantic involvement. She also apologized for any confusion that may have affected my twin daughters, and assured me that she and Elio were not together. She emphasized that there was no grand plan to steal him away from me, and that I still have a chance. However, I felt the need to confirm everything for myself. Did she ever sleep with him? In the aftermath of the divorce, they met up a few times to vent their frustrations. Rebecca assured me that there was nothing for me to worry about, since they never tried to pursue a relationship. She explained that there was too much animosity and baggage between them for it to work out, and that she didn't even consider him her type. Hearing her say that made me cry, and she cried and apologized as well. I must have told her countless times how much I hated her. The truth is, I hate her more than I ever realized. She knows how much I love and need Elio, and yet she still manages to cause trouble, no matter how much it hurts me. After that, I told her to leave and unblocked her. She wants to be a part of my life again, but I just can't bring myself to forgive her. I understand your position. It is impossible to maintain normal communication with a woman who sleeps with a man you love. I'm just horrified. What happened? Today, I was getting ready to pick up my kids from my husband's apartment. We had planned a fun weekend together, and I was excited to spend some quality time with them. To surprise them, I had stopped by McDonald's and picked up their favorite meals, hoping to kickstart our adventure on a delicious note. As I pulled into the parking lot, I could see that something was off. The kids were nowhere to be seen, and it had been longer than I expected. I tried calling their phones, but no one answered. My anxiety levels started to rise, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and headed up to the apartment myself. When I pushed the door open, a wave of uneasiness swept over me. The door was not locked, which was unusual. When I entered the apartment, I was horrified. What happened? As I looked around the apartment, I couldn't help but notice the unmistakable signs of another woman's presence, from the fluffy slippers in the hallway to the array of bottles and creams in the bathroom. It was clear that these belongings belonged to Rebecca. My anger starts to boil over, and the feeling of betrayal crept up inside me. Filled with hatred and aggression, I stormed into the bedroom to confront Elio, ready to let him have it. But what I saw next was the worst kind of shock. There on the bed, in a tight embrace, were Elio and Rebecca. They didn't even flinch when I barged in, and calmly greeted me as if it was the most natural thing in the world. I was hurt beyond belief. The pain was too much to bear, and I couldn't hold back the tears that started streaming down my face. I turned around and ran out of the apartment, slamming the door behind me. I got into my car and drove away, not knowing where to go or what to do next. Oh my God! Are they together as a couple now? I don't know. Oh dear, hold on. What's the reaction? Why did you run away? Are you kidding me now? You slept with my husband, and we're in an embrace. Do you think that's normal? With your ex-husband? Sophia, Please accept this fact and calm down. Accept it? You said Elio wasn't your type, and that you would never be with your friend's ex-boyfriend. I changed my mind. What? Elio and I became very close during the time after your divorce, so we decided to be together. You are to blame for what happened. I'm guilty? You were the one who encouraged me to act that way. We went out together to clubs, and then you acted horribly towards me and destroyed my family. My only mistake was that I didn't think for myself and looked up to you for everything. Yes, you're right. But everyone is responsible for their own actions. What are you going to do now? You don't love Elio. Why do you even want him? Well, stop it. I've always liked him. We spent a lot of time together during your marriage, but I just didn't want to ruin your family. And since everything happened so that you got a divorce, then why not? You're just awful. Yes, LOL. Oh, I wanted to ask you something very important. What is it? What does Elio prefer for breakfast? Oatmeal or scrambled eggs? LOL. Huh? Never mind, I'll figure it out myself. By the way, have you bought the dress yet? What dress? Why? We sent you an invitation to the wedding. Didn't you see it? It was a white and green envelope. It says, Rebecca and Elio invite you to their wedding. Huh? We are getting married, Sophia. What's so incomprehensible here? Come to our wedding, Sophia. Oh, no! It's enough for me to know that you're getting married. I don't want to hear from you anymore. Don't contact me anymore. LOL, you're so funny. Okay, bye.